£2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
TikTok chefs, Instagram chefs, that they put children off or young people off of cooking because it's so expertly done they can't do it. No, my young lad, he's 17, he is amazing in the kitchen. Oh, he is. He's amazing in the kitchen. And he gets it all off TikTok. He comes down, he can put burgers, wraps, stews, curries, sauces, and the smells in the kitchen. I said, where'd you get these? Oh, just TikTok, I'm trying it out. And it's just amazing the things that he can conjure up. So for some people, it might be... it's an inspiration for him. So they're saying that it's intimidation. For my boy, it's an inspiration. They say it's entertainment. For my boy, it's an infomercial. I watch him doing his stuff. At that stage, I could do baked beans on toast and knock up a salad. That was it. But my boy can do all sorts of stuff.
It makes it accessible as well, doesn't it? Because lots of people say, like, you need an education to be in the kitchen, or you need to go find yourself loads of cookbooks. But you don't.
No.
You go on your phone now.
Well, I mean, like, all the spices, sesame oil. I mean, I'm amazed at the stuff that he does. So it's encouraging. All you just need is a kitchen well-stocked and have a go. And understand that failure is actually the route to learning. I mean, he's made mistakes, he's stuck stuff in the bin, but that young man, I am amazed at some of the stuff he does.
I don't mind cooking at all. It's cleaning up that I have the problem with. Dawn, let's talk about sex.
Can I just say there are things called restaurants, by the way? Just put that one. My hell, I don't even know where the kitchen is.
OK.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour to find out, has Nigel Farage become a lefty? Has Ed Miliband's love affair with renewables gone too far? And what are remote control sex toys, and should you be worried? I'm Stephen Allen, and tonight's comedians are Lewis Schaefer and Nick Dixon. This is Headliners. But before tomorrow's news, let's get tonight's headlines with Will Hollis.
Thank you. Your top stories at 11 o'clock. A Labour MP is the first to break ranks and call for a national inquiry into the grooming scandal. Dan Carden, the MP for Liverpool Walton, urged Sir Keir Starmer to use the full power of the state to deliver justice. Speaking to the Liverpool Echo newspaper, he called it shocking that crimes may have been covered up to avoid confronting racial or cultural issues, adding calls for an inquiry were not an obsession of the far right, urging others in the party to speak out. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage has repeated a pledge that Reform UK will pay for an inquiry into the grooming scandal if the government continues to reject calls. Speaking at the party's North West Conference in Chester, Reform's leader renewed calls for a national inquiry while criticising division in the UK.
Of living in two-tier Britain. Had enough of two-tier policing. Had enough of two-tier justice. Had enough of us all being divided up.
Well, that speech comes as 10 Reform Derbyshire councillors leave the party over the leadership of Nigel Farage. Meanwhile, the Health Secretary has warned the use of inflammatory language over grooming gangs risks vilifying entire communities. In Germany, the AfD party has nominated co-leader Alice Weidel as Chancellor candidate. At a Congress live-streamed on X, she promised to close the borders and abandon EU climate policy, pledging to tear down windmills of shame. The right-leaning Alternative for Germany is polling at second ahead of the country's election in February. The SDP's candidate, Olaf Scholz, warns that other parties wanted to take a chainsaw to democracy. In Ukraine, the country says its troops have taken 2 North Korean soldiers prisoner in the Kursk region. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the wounded men who are fighting alongside Russian forces are being treated and transported to Kyiv. Some 10,000 North Koreans are believed to be supporting Putin's armies. Back in the UK, Carrie Johnson has spent almost a week in hospital with flu and pneumonia, struggling to breathe. The wife of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson wrote about her ordeal on Instagram, saying her strong advice was to get the flu jab. The number of patients in hospital with flu continues to rise, quadruple the figures of last winter. And finally, temperatures tonight will once again be cold, reaching minus 15 degrees. Last night, they dropped to minus 18.7 in the coldest January night for 15 years. It's expected to stay chilly, with an amber cold weather alert in place until Tuesday. Today, football matches have been postponed. And meanwhile, in Derbyshire, gritters were stopped from working by 200 cars double parked on a scenic route near Edale. Well, those are your latest headlines at 11 o'clock, but now let's get you back to headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. You first look at tomorrow's top stories with 3 comedians. Before we dive in, let's take a look at what Lewis and Nick will have to work with on Sunday's front pages. The Sunday Telegraph. Reeves to wage war on waste as Labour critics circle. The Mail on Sunday. Musk and Cummings in plot to sabotage UK politics. Sunday Times has pressure grows on Starmer to sack minister. The Sunday Express. IVF miracle powered by AI tech. The Observer has no negotiation on children's safety, warns big tech. And finally, the Daily Star Sunday, multitasking turns you into a half-wit. So as long as you're doing 3 jobs, it's profit. Let's have a closer look at some of those front pages. Then we start with the Sunday Mirror, Lewis.
Sunday Mirror. Thank you, Steve. Hi,
Pleasure.
Steve.
Pleasure.
Good to see you. This is Sunday Mirror. It's £2.80 if you want to buy it tomorrow and on Sunday. It's but you can get it for 85p a day.
No.
For up to 6 months.
Well, that's a £2 something saving, isn't it?
Go to page 20. Page 20. Anyway, here's the big news. Good to see you, Nick.
Good to see you.
Big news. MPs. Is 9 Jobs Nigel is his nickname because he's got 9 different jobs. Steve. And including £91,000 for an MP, and he's selling gold, and he's doing stuff. And this is in the Daily Mirror, the Sunday Mirror, and the Mirror is famous for lazy. What?
£2.80. I just wanted to reiterate the price in case I forgot.
Do you know what? I don't care about it. I'm not going to go out and buy it. I get it for free over here. But
you get the front page.
I get the front page.
That's all you need, isn't it?
But the point is, this is the Mirror, and they're incredibly left-wing. So they're like shocked that anybody has a job, that anybody would want to have a job. And here's Nigel Farage doing 9 jobs.
Nick.
Well,
Your thoughts on our colleague?
No, Lewis covered it brilliantly. I mean,
how much is that?
It's so absurd. I mean, well, it's £2.80, and which is less than Nigel Farage earns per week by a lot. Because but the ridiculousness of this is what's Starmer worth? About 7.7 million people estimate. What's Blair worth? 60 million, some people say. Lord Ali, 200 million. What does it matter? Obama, $70 million. I mean, which I think is probably under. I mean, Farage is one of the most famous people in the world, probably. Of course he has money. What are you talking about? No one cares. What the Mirror also don't seem to grasp, there's always been a symbiotic relationship between the aristocracy and the working class. Not saying Farage is an aristocrat, but they say, oh, man of the people. Yes, that's perfectly reasonable. You go back to feudal times. The feudal lord had an understanding with the people. This is not anything new, and it's not a contradiction. So the Mirror needs to understand that. And I hate this stuff, because Led by Donkey's been putting up these things in Clacton. Oh, look how much Nigel Farage earns. It's like, could you put up something about grooming gangs, maybe? You know, the horrible things that have happened to girls. Stick one of those up. But no, it's all this pathetic attack on Farage. I'm over it.
One thing, sorry to jump in, but one thing that always bothers me with this is the idea that if you're from a working class background or if you're the man of the people, you somehow have to fail. And if ever you do start to do well, you're not allowed to represent the working class anymore.
Right.
Which just guarantees the working class are represented by people who can't work.
Yeah, how would you have any representation?
Yeah.
Because who's going to be the Prime Minister or Prime Minister material and have no money?
This is why the United States is the greatest country in the world. Because they want people to make... And
it's not US TV, mate.
Yeah, no, well, I don't
what GB
care.
stands for.
I'm looking for my exit thing right now. The whole place is changing. And the point is that in America, they want people to be successful. The people want to be successful, which is why the left is dead in America.
That's why you left.
And that's why I left. Totally why. You think if I was a winner there, you think I'd be over here in this country?
To be a winner here.
Yeah.
I haven't been a winner here.
You're a small fish in a really small pond.
But there's been certain times when I've become more successful than I've been, and you could feel the hostility amongst the people.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That was the problem, is it?
Your friends would just pull you back down.
They wouldn't pull me back down, but you lose your friends because they think, oh, you're going to become famous. You're not going to talk to them.
They're like, you've changed, and we're glad.
Well, let's take another look at where we go on to the Mail on Sunday now, Nick. What do they treat us with?
Well, they've got Musk and Cummings in plot to sabotage UK politics. It's actually a very interesting story. So the theory is that Dominic Cummings is working with Elon Musk to come up with all these tweets and sabotage our politics. Now, it is very possible because Dominic Cummings knows people in tech and he's quite fond of getting rid of rubbish prime ministers. You know, he's plotted to get rid of Boris, they say. Now he's plotting to get rid of Starmer. So goes the story. Don't sue me, Dominic. But it's, you know, it's possible. He also doesn't love Nigel Farage. So when Musk suddenly tweeted, Farage hasn't got what it takes, you know, was it the hand of Cummings? That's what this asks. Someone close to Musk, a so-called Musk ally, says it's 100% true that he's advising Musk on Doge and government efficiency, which is perfectly logical. But the question is, how far does it go? And is it true, of course? I don't know if it is. This is what they're reporting. But I don't even mind if it is true. Why wouldn't... Dominic Cummings knows a lot of tech people. He's very smart. He understands British politics. Why wouldn't he work with someone like Musk? To me, it's a no-brainer.
It sounds like a no-brainer, but it's totally not true. It's one of those. I mean, it's one of those situations where, like, do I talk about my relationship with Elon Musk? No, because Elon Musk got 1 million people who are talking to him. He probably has met Elon Musk once, but he's British. He's going, my friend. It's like the same way Nigel Farage is like, oh, Elon Musk was my best friend. He's going to give me £100 million, and then all of a sudden he changed, or $100 million. And then he changes his mind.
I love that you had to look at the front page to remember Nigel Farage's name.
Because he's off my list now.
9 jobs, Nigel. Look, it's the allegations he's in a WhatsApp group with Musk, Cummings, and an American businessman. I find that highly plausible. I'm not surprised you're not in the WhatsApp group, but I find that plausible. Cummings has a theory that the next election, and he said this openly, that the main parties, Reform, Tories, and Labour might all hit around 20%, and then that'll leave the door open for something better to come through, a Cummings-type thing. Because his concern is always that Farage has a certain electoral limit. So maybe that's why...
How could you fall for this?
How could I fall for it?
I mean, maybe it is true.
How can I fall for a guy that knows big tech people and is very central to UK politics, is talking to someone in big tech who tweets a lot about UK politics?
I think you might remember that this is the same guy who did something... I don't even remember what he did with Boris Johnson. You remember what he did driving up to...
I do. You don't, though.
Yeah.
Everyone else remembers. But I know it was... I get a bad feeling from this guy, number one. He wants to start a new party. Well, it is so difficult to start a new party.
You should watch all his podcasts. You would like him. He's fascinating on podcasts. He's against the kind of the man like you are.
Against me. Well,
no, against the man, like you, like the system.
Well, that's what I am, and maybe we need another party because of.
I changed his view instantly.
Well, is he interested in me?
No, I'm saying
not interested in you. I see. That's what happened. You thought Nick was saying he might be interested in you, in which case, tell me more about this.
I'm saying you would like him. Some of the stuff he says. That's all I'm saying.
He might like you because he's got terrible eyesight.
Does he know who I am?
He does.
Anyway,
he asked me about you yesterday.
Can we discuss this Rachel Reeves thing? I don't know whether we're going to discuss it later, but she's going to China today. First of all, she doesn't even look like Rachel Reeves. She looks like Jack Nicholson's first wife, Angelica Houston, does she not?
Yeah.
I suddenly
very
hot
pretty.
take. Yeah.
Very hot. Anyway, she's... What?
That was your hot political take. Very hot. Oh, in the Addams family.
Well, you want to find them attractive, and you can't find her attractive because she's such an idiot. She's going to China. No one has told her that China is this close to losing its government. Is the Chinese government, the Communist economies are going down there. And I guess maybe they think, oh, that we're the same as them. We're another left-wing party going down. And the point is that China, you know, the population of China, it might be half as much as it was. It's not 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
It could be as little as 700 million people because they had all these laws. Yes.
And they don't always tell the truth, I've heard. You know what?
Yeah.
We talked about this last night. We couldn't stop Lewis talking about it tonight. I love your line, you want to find them attractive. Why do you want to find chancellors attractive?
Because you have to look at them. The most important thing in comedy. This is why I'm a success. Because look at how great I look. People want to look at me.
The thing with Alistair Darling, I mean, those eyebrows.
Right.
They were appealing, and that's why.
You have to look at them, yeah. And by the way, this paper's £2.20.
That's what we needed.
$1.90 to subscribe.
Oh, sorry.
Observer, Lewis, what's their price?
The Observer, this is the Guardian, because the Guardian, who owns them, are going to put them out of business. Their price is, hold on, I'll say what the Guardian's price is, £4. So it's the most expensive paper. No, I think
That's crazy.
The Times is a bit more.
That's crazy.
But it's a left-wing paper, and they're willing to throw away any amount of money. They want to die poor. Those people, unless they've got billions of dollars, the left. Oh,
does it have any stories tonight?
No, it's just
it says basically no negotiations on children's safety. Labor warns big tech, and that's because Zuckerberg of Meta, of Facebook and whatever it is, WhatsApp, he's saying we're not going to go through the we're not going to be fooled anymore because I guess Trump scared him. Trump has scared him. And this guy, Peter Kyle, is the tech secretary under Labour. And he's saying we want to get some more money into the UK.
Nick, your thoughts?
Nailed it. I mean, it's exactly that. But you wonder, I mean, they're trying to pitch the UK as the sweet spot for the development of AI and how great they'll be. But the problem is we're going to have all this censorship, which they're always hinting at, and Ofcom censoring everything. You know, will people want that? Because Zuckerberg has come out very pro-America free speech now. He's gone full MAGA. Yeah. So, you know, we've got to be less wet if we're going to pitch ourselves as that IMH show.
I agree with that. The point is we live in a I mean, I've been here for 25 years. This is a police state. They're constantly knocking on people's doors. They're arresting people for tweeting.
They're knocking on your door.
Yeah, knock on Lewis's to check if that visa's up to date.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm not going to mention.
We've got time just to cram, but we'll cram this one in the Daily Star Sunday. Nick, what's their front page?
Sure. They've got multitasking turned you into a half-wit, and it's about doing too many things is bad, which we've known. Have we known that for ages? Yeah. It's all about deep work now. You sit in a room for 4 hours, stare at the wall. I mean, Lewis Schaefer does that already, but you're meant to do deep work now.
Yeah. But you're right, we've known for decades now that you can't multitast. You can simply do little chunks of one task at a time. Even if you think you can multitask, you can't. It's been proven, and which still men can't multitask.
Well, why do you think that is? Who are the people who are pushing multitasking? Women. And what do they accomplish?
I think you can multitask because Lewis manages to look this good while knowing the price of newspapers at the same time.
This is the Star, and I actually recommend the Star because the Sunday Star is £2.10.
Why have you got on a separate piece of paper when they're on the front of the paper?
Well, that's because just on this one's on the front of it, but the other ones aren't. They don't
tend to put the price on the front.
I love that you've done preparation, but that's what you prepared. You could have prepared anything, but that's what you went with.
Because people are asking me for this.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Right, well, that's the front pages all fully priced. What's up next is Nigel Farage opening our borders, why you can't say Asian grooming gangs now, and what the police are getting wrong. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Look, if people want to do veganuary, that's all well and good, but it shouldn't be forced on people, should it? Or even strongly suggested by something like the NHS?
It's not being forced on anybody. People can choose in the Wirral or any other NH trust that gets involved whether they want to partake or not. What they're doing are promoting the benefits of a vegan diet. Now, you imagine you're the NHS trust. You've got one person dying every 3 minutes from heart disease, and vegans get much less high blood pressure, much less heart disease than do meat eaters. So surely, if your job is to promote health, then you should let people know these kind of stats. Vegans get less cancer. Red meat is a class 1 carcinogen, classed by the World Health Organization as processed meat definitely causes cancer of the bowel. So it's just letting people know what the health advantages are of reducing or taking meat completely out of your diet and becoming vegan, you get less diabetes type 2, which is a big problem in the UK, less deaths from stroke, and around 1/5 less of all cancers. Imagine it was drugs that had that kind of impact. People would be hailing it and going, wow, this is amazing.
To call it about diversity and inclusion, I just think that's a load of nonsense. This is a move away by public bodies from this compulsory veganism. Look, your speaker from Viva, which is a very hardline animal rights organisation, attempts to talk about the environment and other issues, but really this to them is about animal rights. They don't believe in a world where we should use animals. I completely disagree with the speaker. I respect her right to say that, of course, but I completely disagree. And that's why the NHS and public bodies just shouldn't be getting involved in things that are so controversial.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Before we crack on with the newspapers, you can get involved, have your say by going to gbnews.com/your say. There's Alistair who says, when you look at Lewis, you can almost see the gears turning. And then Common Sense adds in, you can almost hear them. And then Alistair says, I'm waiting for the steam to come out of his ears. So, there you go. What's going on?
It means I'm here, and it means you're looking at me, and that's the most important. I don't know who's
That's the most important thing.
They're looking at me. That's all about attention. What do you think this is? Do you think this is meaningful to people? This
show is so unimportant. I'm quoting Lewis Schaefer.
It is so unimportant because we can't really be serious because the state doesn't allow us to be serious.
That's not why you can't be serious.
And because I don't want people to hate.
That's why.
That is the most.
Lewis will go to the Mail on Sunday. Nigel Farage doesn't like Tommy Robinson, isn't liked by Elon, and now this. I didn't get the email, but are we calling him a lefty now?
Well, I don't know if you call it a lefty. This is a Muslim supporter. Nigel Farage says the UK should consider allowing Shamima Begum, whatever her name is, back home.
The type of sandwich you just said.
And insist he's still friends with Elon Musk, who said he should be ditched as reform leader. And this is what Nigel Farage says. You got to remember Nigel Farage. He's a busy man. Maybe he doesn't know what he's saying. He's got 9 jobs. He's got 9 jobs. But this is a horrible thing. On one hand, that Shamima Begum, she's the woman, she was 15 years old, and she was like, they let her leave the country, joined ISIS in Syria, and she's been trying to come back for the past, maybe 7 years.
Couple of weeks, at least. Oh, yeah.
7 years. Now, on one hand, I say screw her. She hates this country. They should let people who love this country.
Normally you like women. This is weird.
And it's not about women. It's about people who hate this country. On the other hand, right? So if she doesn't love the country, we should kick her out. On the other hand, she's a British citizen, and she should be punished in this country.
She's not a British citizen now.
No, she wasn't, but she was born in this country. You can't just take away someone's citizenship.
They did.
They should let her back in the country, and they should make her pay the price for doing what she did. Okay.
Nick, it's interesting why he's said this. Who else is in favour of it?
Well, Sebastian Gorka suddenly came out and said we need to take everyone back from Syria, and now Farage is saying, I'm thoughtful. I'm not necessarily wanting to do it, but So I'm thinking, is this coming from the Trump team? Is it coming from Gorka? Or is Farage just not sure, so he's being careful? Because suddenly they want us to take all these people back.
No.
No to what?
To that. He actually said we cannot rule out working with the population, I don't even want to mention the name, who hate this country. He said it.
Who said?
Nigel Farage, there's a video out there where he said we've got to deal with the people. We can't be too hostile to them.
I still don't know what you said no to, but anyway, I'll carry on.
That is what I said no to.
Oh,
yeah.
It's very strange for, as you say, has he gone lefty for Farage to be talking like this about Shamima Begum because it must be due to this Gawker intervention. But he does point out she's not like the main threat. He says, I don't classify her as an all-out ISIS killer. It's true, if she came back, the worst she'd do is get another BBC podcast and a loving profile on Channel 4. But she is symbolic of something, and obviously the Farage base probably won't like it. I certainly wouldn't like it. And Kemi Badenoch's actually come out with a win here, because Kemi says we don't ever praise her. But here she said, we'll never take back Miss Begum. And actually, as you say, even Lammy says she'll not be coming back. So Farage is to the left of David Lammy.
Yeah, and that is the big mistake of this guy. There's something wrong with Nigel Farage. Something where I thought he was heading... It's like even when Donald Trump... with the last few months of his election, when things were very close, he didn't say, let's go to the middle and make everybody happy. No, he was as full-on crazy as he was. And Nigel Farage is saying, let's move to the middle. There is no middle this way. We need people who are going to say, you know what, Shamima, she doesn't belong in Britain. If that's the right thing. I'm not saying that's the right thing, but definitely Nigel Farage should not be supporting.
Kind of a tense moment in the canteen when you bump into each other. Ooh. Right, Nick, The Sun on Sunday. Now, we can't say Asian grooming gangs anymore. OK, I can think of some other phrases.
Yes, say them all now, Steve. So, yeah, it's The Sun on Sunday. Rape case councils brand Asian grooming gangs a racist term in new Islamophobic definition. Surely Islamophobia definition would be better. Anyway, I don't know. This is Oxford, Newcastle, Manchester and Calderdale. And they've all come out with saying that we can't use this. It promotes age-old stereotypes and tropes about Islam in this report. So it's obscene nonsense. It's a reminder of our corrupt system that we're in. Whether it's ideological, whether it's total weakness, amounts to the same thing. Because we need to be getting more specific. Yes, Asian grooming gangs are wrong because it's too generic. We need to call them exactly what they are. It's Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs predominantly. So that's what we need to call them. It doesn't help anyone not to. And this is part of the cover-up. I can't believe that it's still going on. And I think this will be Labour's undoing because whether it's councils, whether it's Starmer and the cabinet, they're trying to underplay this, but I don't think they realise that it's not going to work. You can't double down on this. You can't carry on. This whole regime, this whole current elite, is too inflexible. We saw this with the Democrats in America. They can't adjust and say, actually, we've got this completely wrong. All they can do is double down and say, no, you're Islamophobic, you're racist. And we saw in America, the voters were done with that. And I think in England and Britain, we're done with just being called Islamophobic. Lewis too scared to say anything. He's got that scared face. And when Lewis has that, that's very rare.
Yeah, I've got a scared face because it's horrible what they're being accused of. It's horrible what let's say they've done. But this isn't the issue. The issue is that people are afraid to call it for what it is. It's not just this group of people or a lot of people within this group. It's the fact that they're I can't even say it. I can't say it. There's a group of people who want to take over the world. They come from those countries over there. They don't like our Christianity, Nick. Mm-hmm. They don't want us to be English anymore.
I don't know why you tried to bring me into that suddenly.
They don't want us to be. They don't want us to drink. They don't want us, the women, to go out and work. They don't want the women to go out and have sex with other people. The whole thing is bad. And even if you eliminate these thousands of men, a few thousand men, you still have the core belief system is...
Yeah. But specifically...
See why you were worried now.
Yeah. But even specifically, chunking down into the details, you've got part of this story is people were afraid to report it for fear of being called racist. So they think the idea is, oh, we'll call you racist for using a phrase to do with it. That's the opposite direction, isn't it?
Right. I said last night, we need to go much further. This was a racist assault on white girls. We know this. It's because they're white, it's because of their religion and their race.
And their class as well.
And their class. So to be scared, I'm worried about being called racist. No, how about calling out a massive racist attack against white people? Oh, you can't be racist against white people. Well, you obviously can, because that was a large part of why it happened.
Yeah. Right. Lewis, we'll move on to the Sunday Telegraph. And there
was
are
I too
more...
much? Was
no,
I too
you were
much
beautiful.
there?
I really appreciated it.
I don't want to distance myself from it, though.
But as I was saying, Lewis, the Sunday Telegraph, and there are more police in HR than working on the grooming gangs. The vile individuals, I don't want to call them humans, they abuse their power. HR stands for Human Resources. Tell us more.
Yes, exactly. Police forces have more staff working in HR than in tackling grooming gangs. This is in the Sunday Telegraph. Guess how much the Sunday Telegraph is tomorrow? It says
£2.85.
It says £3.50, but the Times is £4.50. I don't know why. It's the exact same price as a daily paper. I guess because they got so much more ads in it on the weekends. But what it's saying is they've gone around to the 43 different police forces in Britain, and they found out that there's more people working in the HR department, which we have, which I never had to work for an HR department, but then there is in this one thing for the...
Imagine you go to the HR department and it's Lewis. I'm sorry. So sorry to interrupt, but imagine you go to the HR and you're the guy deciding. That would be a nightmare.
I'll fire myself now.
Yeah, you know what it is. What do you think the people work? I don't want to say anything bad about them because they hold life and death, and they've been good to you, Nick. And maybe someday they'll be good to me. But the point is this: nobody thought this was a problem until last week. Literally last week. That is a fact. When Tommy Robinson waved the banner again, and when Elon Musk stood up for Tommy Robinson, and when Elon Musk interfered in this interview.
People found guilty before in court cases. That wasn't a moment of people thinking.
But it wasn't a panic in this country where people realized, holy cow, there's something horrible happening here.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Nick, your thoughts on this?
Well, yes, I have thoughts. I mean, HR.
Am I right about a week? A week it's been. This panic has been going on for a week. This pedo sex panic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with me?
I don't really know what you're saying, but I'll get back to you.
I said there wasn't this panic.
Oh, well, it's recently re-emerged as a massive worldwide issue.
As a massive world.
Look, HR, it can of course be abused by busybodies reporting people for frivolous reasons. We all know that, but. In general, this does also show where we are as a culture. You've got bureaucracy, you've got anarcho-tyranny, which I always say, you've got safetyism, you've got a kind of feminized culture, everything is a problem. But also, at the same time, the police have had serious problems, and HR didn't catch them, as we saw if you actually have murderers in the police, it turned out. But HR didn't catch them. So I wonder, I'm sure HR do an important role in some cases, yeah, but do you need 1,700 in HR versus 1,000 dedicated to grooming gangs? No, we need them to sort out the grooming gangs.
It's probably really hard to fire someone from HR.
Great point.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll take you to HR. Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah.
We need people. We need this country. Maybe it works because it's not so open. But the fact is, there's no openness in it. That people haven't discussed what the problem is. The problem isn't what we call it. The problem is there's a group of people in this country who hate this country, and they're coming in on the small boats across the water. They're coming, they're landing in
the water.
HR workers,
whatever they are, and we should.
It's like Dr. Evil.
I'm afraid to speak. I just think it's.
And yet you do.
And I do.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And
Still.
Anyway.
Right.
Sorry, Steve.
Still to come. You sure?
Yeah.
Still to come. We've got a Dr. Just Stop Oil. Why it's not just Facebook where you can say stuff about trans people now, and what will Trump do to DEI? This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Some of us did manage to see some sunshine today, but others have been seeing quite persistent fog, and that'll be lingering overnight and into Sunday, particularly across areas of eastern England. It is going to become quite dense overnight. Northern Ireland as well could see some quite widespread fog by the time we reach Sunday morning. There'll be odds spot of drizzle from some of this cloud in between, but if you hold on to the clear skies in the east, it is certainly going to be a very chilly night. A frost here, but something a touch milder to start off the second half of the weekend further towards the west. And we really do have a quite noticeable east-west split in conditions as we head throughout the day. That frost and fog will be lingering into the morning for those eastern areas, but you'll notice how different those temperatures are further towards the west, 7-8 degrees Celsius. Do be aware of this fog as it continues to persist into the daytime. There could be some travel issues around if you are heading outside at all, but again, another east-west split across parts of Scotland as well. Particularly in the west, the winds are going to start picking up as we head throughout the day. Gales developing for the Outer Hebrides and parts of the Highlands as we move towards the afternoon and evening period as we see outbreaks of rain arriving here. It'll be a calmer day for England and Wales, and there will again be some sunshine once the fog eventually clears its way off. But temperatures will struggle here again. 3 to 4 degrees Celsius for some of us, but again 7 to 8 possible further towards the northwest. And as we head into Monday, the pressure system squeezing together will provide a very strong southwesterly wind. So it is going to turn quite gusty for Northern Ireland and Scotland, but it's also going to be fielding in some much milder conditions with these outbreaks of rain. So throughout the next week, we're actually going to have a noticeable north to south split in our temperatures. Not the one you'd normally expect, because in fact it is going to be the northern areas that see the mildest conditions, reaching double-digit figures as we move into the week, but still around average in the south. Bye-bye.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
Welcome back to Headliners. You can get involved, gbnews.com/your say. Anne-Marie says, I think Steve N was auditioning for Movie Trailer Man earlier. Nice job, Steve. It got me watching, so it better be good. I was trying to do the X Factor. This is Headliners. If you want, from the makers of previous films. Yes, you're right, I am auditioning for work. If you need any voiceovers, do send them through. Might need them. We'll do a quick recap of the front pages before we plough on. Sunday Telegraph. Reeves to wage war on waste as Labour critics circle.
This is so
the Mail on Sunday. I can do it in different voices if you want those.
Yes, make it interesting.
Musk
no one cares
Cummings
about this.
in a plot to sabotage UK politics. Not bad, actually. Sunday Times. Pressure grows on Starmer to sack minister.
And the next
Sunday
one,
Express.
next voice. Do another
IVF.
voice.
The Sunday... No, I was going to try to do a Starmer. I don't have a good one. Sunday Express goes IVF miracle powered by AI tech. Observer goes with no negotiation on children's safety. I already got those two. Warns big tech. I can kind of do a Santa one. And finally, Daily Star on Sunday. Multitasking turns you into a half-wit.
Lewis, you shouldn't diss that bit.
Available.
I'm not dissing it.
I like that because it's like John Cage's 4:33, you know, when it's the silent track, but it's different every time. The first time we hear the news is then the second time's different, and then the third time I like almost even more.
I just think
the key to doing the middle one is not taking too long on it, I think.
That took a long time
in that today.
I think the key thing is more me talking. That's what the people want.
There's plenty of that. Nick, the Sunday Telegraph, and electricity bills are going up, but it's not like you need the heating on, so brill.
It's Miliband's reckless obsession with renewables leaves consumers with record bills. And this is so absurd. It's costing us money to turn off wind turbines. It actually costs us more to turn them off. And I'm sort of wondering, can we turn off Ed Miliband or at least constrain him and make him not influence our lives? Because this is so absurd. It's these constraint payments. So we're recklessly adding more wind capacity to a system which cannot cope with what it already has. So imagine, it's like too much Lewis Schaefer we're paying to have a slightly less.
I can imagine that.
Yes, you can easily imagine it. So it's mad. But Claire Coutinho says you can't ramp up renewables before sorting out your basic grid. And it's ideology over consumer interest, which seems completely right. And Lord Frost says it's just a small part of the renewables industry's rip-off of UK customers, which I think is completely correct. Obviously, I know nothing really about the topic, but I do know that Ed Miliband, it's just, do we need him back? Did anyone miss him, really?
No, he's totally right. He's totally right. This whole thing is they want people dead. I'm not going to say who they want dead, but everything is geared to, like, killing people. And that's what this whole Ed Miliband, that's what this whole climate change, COVID stuff, you know, Team World. To hell
Can I
with
just
these
say,
people.
just for Ofcom balance, they don't want people dead. But I was wondering how Lewis could top his first section and get more extreme, and he did it.
They want people dead.
If they wanted people dead, they wouldn't put the little safety things around the bottom of the pylons. They wouldn't put the adverts telling you not to get a Frisbee down.
Who is they?
Who is they?
A
non-binary person.
They are the World Economic Forum. They are Tony Blair. They're anybody who's got money and power and wants to keep their money or thinks they got enough money. They hate people, and they basically hate English people.
Just for legal reasons, you're saying Tony Blair wants people dead.
It sounded like that.
In theory, yes. I'm not saying he's done it. Yeah, you know what it is? His actions want people dead. Yes, I'm not saying he wants to kill them, but I think, is this libelous? What
Is this your last show? Because you're behaving as if it is.
I feel like it is my last show.
I think it might be all of ours
Because I
after
feel like
the things
Steve-
you've said.
Is that
Steve's supposed to counter them sensibly, and he hasn't really.
Is that by making heat and electricity expensive, it's killing people?
I love Tony Blair, and I think he wants to make people live.
I don't think he does.
See?
I think
Balance.
he is so arrogant.
You should do this job.
Him and his brother Barack Obama and his sister Kamala Harris.
You're using the word brother in a very racist way.
Yeah.
You know who you were telling me you love? Alistair Campbell.
Right, well, come on, the next one. Lewis, you get to talk in this next one. Lewis, The Observer, and he goes after Labour and Nigel Farage. Tell us, how popular is Elon Musk now?
Let the people know this is a comedy program. I don't want to be sued for libel. And you get sued for libel. Majority of Britons believe, this is in The Observer, majority of Britons believe Musk having negative impact on UK policy. So this is an Optinium poll for The Observer, and they see that the majority of British people think that he is doing a bad thing for Britain by basically spending 5 or 10 seconds of his day to focus on the horrible leaders we have in this country, the horrible police. Oh, they're all horrible. And so he's saying it. We need more people like Elon Musk. And this country should be jealous that this person has chosen to live in America and not living here. We would love to have him here. And this is done by The Observer, which is a tyrannical left-wing T-world.
We didn't get him, but we got you.
Yeah. Well,
that's something to think about.
And I hope I've added something to the country.
You definitely added something. Well, I agree with you on The Observer. I mean, this is Observer, so you always have to take it with a pinch of salt. This could be a story about a badger stuck up a tree or something. We don't know. Their stories are always
untrue.
Exactly. And for balance, some people like them. But, you know, I always find these a bit weird. I mean, the normies probably just aren't informed, or maybe it's the opposite, and I'm on Twitter too much and I'm too online. Yeah. But, you know, one is suspicious of polls because they're used to manufacture consent in mass democracy. I hate to break it to you kids, but that's how it works.
Yes.
And, but I can also see why people might say it, because he is erratic, Musk, as Nigel Farage has found. I was attacking him over H-1B visas. Then he suddenly turns around and he's bringing up the grooming guys, which I thought was really good. This is the saddening part to me, that only 47% thought Musk was being... No, sorry, 47% thought Musk was being unhelpful on grooming gangs and only 26% helpful. So that was disappointing to me, because it's great, surely, that he's bringing this terrible atrocity to the world attention.
And bringing how horrible our government is.
Yes, the cover-up.
Yeah.
Right, Nick, the Sunday Telegraph, and there's a doctor who was willing to do harm to stop climate change. Don't tell him if you recycle before you get that prostate exam.
Good point. It's Just Stop Oil GP, who sabotaged petrol pumps, says, I have no greater duty as a doctor. Of course, to the layman, raking petrol pumps isn't what a doctor should do, but this is a different kind of doctor. It's Dr. Patrick Hart, and he's actually gone to prison for 12 months, which is quite surprising, because the regime was so obviously sympathetic to the Just Stop Oil cause, but I think it got to a certain point where the damage they get causing was so bad they've had to add some sort of deterrent. So he's gone to prison, and he's really zealous about this. He says, I'll continue to fight against the death sentence of fossil fuels for as long as I have strength in me. I have no greater duty as a doctor at this moment in history. What's happened with Steve? We've had the decline of Christianity in this country. All kinds of pagan religions have sprung up. This being the main one, the climate change apocalypse religion. It's like worshipping a sun god, but it's kind of the anti-sun god. It's quite nihilistic. It's anti-human. And it's sad because, as a GP, I'm sure he helps people, but this is not helping people, just slightly ruining a petrol station. Imagine he was speaking out against the grooming gangs or something useful. So it's sad to kind of see... It's kind of it's kind of the midwits religion, because you have to read quite a lot of broadsheets to believe things this stupid.
Imagine you knew which petrol station he was at and he's a GP, so you could turn up and see him, which actually is the only way to see a GP.
Well, Nick is very sure that the guy helps people all day long. I know he's a GP. I think that 95% of the stuff that he recommends is harmful to people.
They want people dead.
They want... yes, they do. They want... GPs do want people dead. You look at Joe Biden with his low cholesterol. It should be fantastic. He's got low cholesterol. And then they give him more cholesterol pills to make him cholesterol level go down.
And that was the only problem with Biden. That was,
he was
fit as a fiddle apart from that.
You know what? If he'd been eating meat like Louis Schaefer, look at how great I look. I'm almost 70 years old. I look amazing. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Was
the mind. You eat some mind meat.
No, I wasn't that bright before. I wasn't that bright. But Steve, you know what? We need
You've had your time on the meat subject. I think you concede the floor again. Lewis, the Sunday Telegraph. Is free speech getting freer?
Okay, civil service to end climate of fear trans policy. This is big news. Basically, they've been sued a few times, and there was recently a case where this woman was given £116,000 for questioning maybe the trans thing, and she was at one of these big government media, Department of Culture, Media and Sports, Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, and she won her case. And then they said, okay, we're not gonna hassle anybody if they want to be quote unquote anti-trans or have a deviant policy. But I didn't realize it's not against the law to be anti-trans. The Equality Bill has nothing to do with trans. Okay, there's no law that says you got to be nice to whatever these trans people are. It's just they've been making it out of whole cloth, and that's the problem with this country because there is no constitution, and
that's the problem with it. I think we've got to move on for time reasons. Still to come, prehistoric. Well, I'll crack on with this. Prehistoric junk, what white people aren't allowed to do now, and why you should be careful with remote control sex toys. You're telling me. I thought I was changing the channel and I nearly broke my knee. Anyway, this is Headliners, only on GB News.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
For anyone looking for winter sun, I can report very mixed conditions across the Med. Unsettled in Italy with showers in Greece, but across much of Iberia it's fine. Plenty of sunny skies, breezy towards the Canaries. And we've got this area of low pressure moving through Italy. That's going to bring unseasonably windy weather and outbreaks of rain with snow over the mountains. Meanwhile, showery conditions and a strong wind, but mild for Greece for the time of year. And then it turns more settled widely across the Med next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Teenage girls are out drinking their male peers in the UK at a greater rate than any other European country. Yes, more than a third of 15-year-old girls in the UK report getting repeatedly drunk, compared to less than a quarter of boys the same age. I suppose what I'd say to this is, boys, what are you doing? Pull yourself together. Well, joining me now is the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, and the former Labour advisor, Matthew Larzer. Charlotte, you're going to have to speak up on behalf of girls the country over here. 15-year-old girls boozing much more than their male counterparts.
I think it's to do with the pain threshold, so we can handle hangovers better.
Do you get hangovers when you're 15 years old?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I was drinking hooch and Smirnoff.
Absolutely. Whatever happened to hooch?
And I just think we can tolerate it better. Right. And I don't know, I grew up in that kind of wild child 90s drinking era. I'm showing my age a bit. And, God, we drank a lot as teenage girls. I mean, it's actually shocking now in retrospect.
Well, I also think in terms of boys versus girls, I wonder if we've got a bit of a thing about... I mean, the old cliche that girls develop quicker, they can become social quicker. They can certainly get into the pub more easily because they look older.
Yeah.
You know, because of makeup, etc. I wonder if the boys are all just, you know, in their rooms playing on their devices, as it were. You know, as people increasingly dominated by screens, whether in fact there's an issue about socialisation, about whether in fact, you know, the lads are not out there socialising.
They have little sips of wine in France from the age of like 12 and they're absolutely fine about it.
Yeah.
Whereas we all know what happens to British girls, because I was one of them. You turn, however, old enough to get a bottle of Smirnoff Ice, and boy, do you go for it, and until you're vomiting, basically.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. You can get involved, gbnews.com/yoursake. Mateus says, Lewis, the people with the white coats are outside standing next to your leather-strapped wheelchair. Don't forget your bit, straitjacket, or you'll be late for your electric bench treatment and late-night porridge. So at least they know you
Are they
quite
outside?
well.
Can you tell them to wait?
The,
you were
Nick,
kidding.
to the Observer, I don't know. We'll see. We'll get more comments. Nick, the Observer, will Trump end diversity, equity and inclusion drives? I mean, it could be good because I think we all need new jobs after this.
Yeah, it's how could Trump's second term affect DEI initiatives in the US? And basically, Steve, the moral is straight white men are back. It's great news for you and me, not Lewis. He's not straight or white. Tough times for Lewis, but where do...
It's not that funny. It's true.
No, it's true. Anyway,
Yeah, still funny.
Let's plough on.
Yeah.
The point is, the Observer is terrified, and it's quite amusing. They're terrified about DEI ending, and they're saying, oh, no, DEI might end. They're terrified about fairness, and they're citing all the reasons Trump might get rid of it. There's this executive order, there's the judicial appointments, there was the Students for Fair Admissions when they found out that places like Harvard were just, discriminating against white people and Asians, loads of Asians. Then they changed that. Observer's like, no, bring back our DEI. But it's all going to end, and it just shows how quickly things can change. We lose hope in this country, but when you get a new elite, a counter-elite, they just can change everything that quickly. We're in the era of MAGA. Now, the question is, will it really be a change? Will it be more of the same? But I think DEI is one of the things that could definitely go, because let's face it, it's just anti-white racism with a fancy name.
Lewis, do they want people
It's anti-English. It's anti-us. It's anti-we, the English people, the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, the Celts, the Welsh.
The Picts.
The Picts.
But you're not
There was a comment saying you hadn't said it yet. They're about to lose a bet.
You're not any of these.
Somebody needs to stand up for these people.
Thank you. You mean me and Steve?
Yes. I'm fighting for you, and look at you just sit there criticizing.
That's the first time
Yes.
your people have ever fought for mine.
I don't like you, but it really saddens me that you haven't stood up for yourself. This is
I have.
This is the greatest country in the world. It's greater than America because it created America.
Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm saying, what was the point I'm saying? I'm saying this is the problem with this country, and which was fixed in America, is they have congressional elections every 2 years in America. So you don't have to wait 5 years to get rid of these horrible people. Even though I suggested voting for them to teach the Tories a lesson, I blame myself.
You've changed.
I blame, but if we were in America, we'd have an election coming up in a year and a half, and people would.
We might still.
Yeah, we might. I don't think we will.
Lewis, the Mail on Sunday, more and more parents will be saying, you treat this place like a hotel, because it's where you take your prostitutes, probably. What's this one?
Yes, well, no. Hotel of mum and dad. Number of youngsters living with their parents rises by more than a third in 2 decades. Yeah, people are living at home because the state here, and I mean that by the Tories and the Labour, they've kept, and the Jews. Not the Jews.
Did you say jutes?
The Jutes.
I hit the T hard enough to make sure we didn't get in trouble.
We'll cut that bit out. We'll cut the bit out. It's not live.
Not live.
Not live.
It's not live, and yet they've still put out all the other stuff you said, which is incredible.
Well, the ones that work, we put out live. Anyway, so this is saying people their kids are living at home, and I've got 2 kids myself living at home, and I'm a kid, basically, and I'm living at home. I'm living at home. And the number one reason why people are living at home is because the state kept interest rates so low and pumped up more money, creating such inflation, which killed people's income, which meant that houses, if back in 2008, when I was going through my divorce and the money had run out, if they had kicked me out of my flat, there would have been a house for 2 young people. That's number one. And they valued my being in this flat in Nunhead more than they value this. And the second thing, and I think you're going to have to agree with me, is that divorce is that they're breaking up families like crazy. If people had to live with a family, with a wife, had to live with a husband.
Your thoughts on this, Nick? Just much shorter than Lewis's thoughts. Just that it's not. It used to be thought of as a loser if you stayed at home, at least in our culture in Britain. But now it's just financially, loads of people have to do it. What's weirder is moving in with someone else's parents. That's still considered weird.
It is. Nick, the Observer, as stand-up comedians, we know how hard the gig economy is. Yeah, you might not get paid, but at least you don't have to deal with hen nights.
I'm retired, but it's so immoral. Gig economy workers forced to pay fee to receive their wages. Those are the Observer's words, not mine. I like it. But it's a new system brought in by young ones who's some sort of app, and you have to pay a percentage fee. I sound like Lewis. You have to pay a fee, but you have to pay a fee to get paid, but quicker. But that's not that weird. That happens on apps. I'm more worried about these companies and people in general. You walk past these weird kind of impromptu food camps where there's all these portaloos filled with sweet and sour sauce. So you're like, what is this country now? And these people just ride around all night. Don't order this stuff. I don't order it. I've ordered a McDonald's twice that was cold. But I think people are encouraging this sort of illegal gig economy.
I don't think you read this closely enough, Nick.
You've got to get it in 20 seconds. What have you got?
Is that this is one business called the Young Ones, and they're not paying their people on time. And in America, that's against the law. In the Bible, in the Koran, you have to pay somebody when they're...
Well, I agree with that. But a lot of them shouldn't be here, though, because they're illegal. That's my point.
That's another thing entirely.
I'm talking about I'm standing up for the Picts and the Jutes.
And the Jutes, if this is a private
Lewis
business.
doesn't like to say mean things about immigrants, so it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, good point.
And which means we didn't get to talk about remote control sex toys, so it's just weird that I mentioned it all show. But it's nearly over. Let's take another look at Sunday's front pages.
Is that show over
Sunday
already?
Telegraph, Reeves to wage war on waste as Labour critics circle. The Mail on Sunday, Musk and Cummings in plot to sabotage UK politics. Sunday Times goes with pressure grows on Starmer to sack minister. The Sunday Express, IVF miracle powered by AI tech, all the abbreviations. Observer, no negotiations on children's safety warns big tech. And the Daily Star Sunday, multitasking turns you into a half-wit. Well, that's all we've got time for today.
Tell them if they don't like
Lewis
this
Nick,
stuff,
Simon Evans will be here tomorrow at 11 with Lewis and Jonathan Cogan. If you're watching at 5, breakfast is on the way for you. Till the next one, have a good one.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. Some of us did manage to see some sunshine today, but others have been seeing quite persistent fog, and that'll be lingering overnight and into Sunday. Particularly across areas of eastern England, it is going to become quite dense overnight. Northern Ireland as well could see some quite widespread fog by the time we reach Sunday morning. There'll be odds spot of drizzle from some of this cloud in between, but if you hold on to the clear skies in the east, it is certainly going to be a very chilly night. A frost here, but something touch milder to start off the second half of the weekend further towards the west. And we really do have a quite noticeable east-west split in conditions as we head throughout the day. That frost and fog will be lingering into the morning for those eastern areas, but you'll notice how different those temperatures are further towards the west, 7-8 degrees Celsius. Do be aware of this fog as it continues to persist into the daytime. There could be some travel issues around if you are heading outside at all, but again, another east-west split across parts of Scotland as well. Particularly in the west, the winds are going to start picking up as we head throughout the day. Gales developing for the Outer Hebrides and parts of the Highlands as we move towards the afternoon and evening period as we see outbreaks of rain arriving here. It'll be a calmer day for England and Wales, and there will again be some sunshine once the fog eventually clears its way off. But temperatures will struggle here again, 3 to 4 degrees Celsius for some of us, but again 7 to 8 possible further towards the northwest. And as we head into Monday, the pressure system squeezing together will provide a very strong southwesterly wind. So it is going to turn quite gusty for Northern Ireland and Scotland, but it's also going to be fielding in some much milder conditions with these outbreaks of rain. So throughout the next week, we're actually going to have a noticeable north to south split in our temperatures. Not the one you'd normally expect, because in fact it is going to be the northern areas that see the mildest conditions, reaching double-digit figures as we move into the week, but still around average in the south. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
Hi, I'm Angela from Wigan and I won £30,000 with the Great British Giveaway. I'd say to people who want to enter or are wondering whether to enter to do it, it happens to people like me.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We were talking earlier about the issue of Siri listening to you. Well, it's not just your own conversations being sort of harvested for data. But it's a problem with AI. So what seems to have happened yesterday is that Apple issued a alert saying that Luke Littler had won the darts before he had. I mean, imagine what would, if he then gone on to lose, how that would have looked. I mean, obviously, because he went on to win, at least they got the story right. But before it had happened. So what it seems to happen is that the AI farms existing stories. And what it has done, that's the alert. We can see the alert there. Now, and also claiming that Brazilian tennis player Rafael Nadal had come out as gay when actually a